Hello, I'm Scott Allsop. In this video we're going to look at how to answer source comprehension questions in a history exam. Now these are often the early questions on a paper and usually have lower marks than some of the questions that require more detailed analysis. While there's not really any easy questions on a history exam, comprehension source questions are arguably the easiest that you're likely to come across. Now, comprehension questions are simply looking to check that you understand what is in the source in terms of the surface detail and any other messages that you can infer from what's there. The questions are usually worded along the lines of what message does source X give about this particular topic, or what impression does sources Y and Z give about the topic. Therefore, all you really need to do is to write down what the source tells you about the person or the event or the situation that's mentioned in the question. To do this successfully, you should firstly read or look at the source or sources stated in the question very carefully, and then write down the obvious things that you can pick out. Now you need to make sure that you relate your answer to the exact question and don't get inclined to start going off on a tangent just because you did some last minute revision and are being asked about something that you've suddenly remembered that you know something about. It's a source paper. Stick to the sources. So the second step in answering these types of comprehension source questions is to then look beyond the surface detail and see what you can infer from inside the sources. This is what you can work out from what you've read or seen in the source, even though it might not be specifically stated or in fact immediately obvious. Now you need to think about whether anything is being suggested in the source that isn't mentioned directly. Once you've done that, you need to write down everything that you've inferred and then use the source to back up the points that you're making. This means that you need to refer to the content of the source in your answer, either through a direct quote, a paraphrase, or a description of the details that you've identified. However, it's important that you don't start going overboard here. Now you must not, and I say that sternly for a reason, you must not waste your time by just listing everything that you can find in a source. Don't just describe it, because you won't get any marks. The evidence that you include from the source needs to be concise and tightly focused on the question that's being answered. It's what you do with the source content that actually gets you the marks. In brief, what can you see? What does it mean? And of course, there's then the golden rule for comprehension questions. If the question tells you to look at a specific source, you must make sure that you refer to it in your answer. If the question tells you to read source A and then comment on it, then make sure that you include details from source A in your answer. Similarly, if you're told to look at sources C and D, then obviously you need to include evidence from them in your response. If you don't refer to the source or the sources in your answer, then you're frankly condemning yourself to only getting a maximum of half the available marks. For advice on how to approach other types of source questions, you can check out my other videos using the links here.